One. Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. I've disappeared for a couple of weeks, had a couple of weeks off as Kim and I just spoke about off air. I was deep into my shadow over the last couple of weeks as well. So I had a couple of weeks off the platform, but we're back on tonight and I'm very grateful to be joined by Kimmen. We met through a mutual friend of ours, and I'm very grateful for this connection. We've had an awesome chat off air. Kimmen, you are a coach. You do some really awesome stuff. I was looking at your content today. Welcome to my show. I'm very grateful to have you here. And yeah, welcome to the show, brother. I'm happy to have you here, man.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's good to connect with like-minded people.
Mm.
It's going to be an interesting. I always say that it's going to be interesting to hear what I have to say because that leaves it kind of open. So I'll
Yeah.
start with that.
Yeah, no, it's so refreshing to have men in their early 30s like we are and self-realizing, pardon the pun, of who we are, why we're here, and how we can break free from the mind and then our mental limitations that are keeping a lot of young men stuck. And I know you focus a lot on men too, and my podcast reaches a lot of young men, and I just can't get enough of like more men jumping on here and helping inspire those younger generation because I've gone through your content today, and this is a perfect lead into the drugs, the alcohol, the porn, all these things that we were both doing had such a profound. Well, it was actually, yeah, it was just a real negative sort of escape, as you called it in your video today. So, Kimmen, talk to me about your journey with all those things just mentioned and how you got to where you are now, right here on the Breaking Free podcast, man. Because I'm just feeling like it's a really powerful story. So, take the floor, man.
Well, I think, and this is I think a societal issue, but a lot of men and women, unfortunately, are struggling being stuck in survival.
Mm.
We are we are all traumatized from, especially from what has happened over the last couple of years in the world, but we have never learned how to be present with pain. And when we never learn to be present with pain as kids, we develop these ideas that we will be able to find fulfillment from this pain in the future by pursuing certain things, such as success, or it can be long-term goals in terms of success that we're chasing, or it can be short-term pleasures that we think will give us something that we are missing on the inside. So we're all coming from a place of lack in today's world, and we're all stuck in fight or flight because of this, because we have things on the inside that we deem unworthy. And I used to live like this, well, like everyone else does basically nowadays, if unless we learn to wake up to this. I used to live like this, and it was going all right. I was having fun. I was a bit of a party boy when I was younger, and I had fun.
Mm.
But it also led me down into severe suffering, and all of this come from childhood trauma that I just explained. But I was seeking something in the future all the time. I've been a seeker my entire life, looking for satisfactoriness is what I would use. And that drive caused me into trying to look for satisfactoriness in drugs or in porn or in fast food or in video games or in something that could take the edge off of feeling worthless or lonely or scared. Those were the things that I have struggled with my entire life, coming from upbringing, that I desperately tried to escape from, creating a sense of fight or flight. Because, like I said, having things on the inside that I feel is not worthy, trying to fulfill myself in the future. So I was on this, I guess, bandwagon for a long time until I I had a very close relative to me being addicted to drugs for a long time. He's now clean, which is awesome. He's been clean for a long time, but that and my own carousel about that sort of led me into feeling having panic attacks and being severely depressed and being overweight and being like having all of those um, unfortunately common struggles that a lot of people struggle with, and that led me into seeing a psychotherapist when I was 24, and she revealed to me what was true for the first time in my life because I had nothing good to say about myself. I hated myself, but she poked something. She saw something in me And she reminded me of something that I felt was true to me, to my character. That is that I lead the way. She said, "You lead the way." I was like, "I lead the way. That's interesting. I've always done that." And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean that in a type of um, leading people towards a more uplifted state of being.
Mm.
I had always my entire life wanting people to succeed. I wanted people to live better lives because I've always seen potential in people. And she saw that in me and she reminded me of that. And that was sort of like my turning point. And of course, it took a long time for me to actually get back on the right track from then because I was 24 and I'll be 33 in a few months. But she helped me realize that, oh, well, first of all, she helped me take a look at myself. She helped me go inward the first time. And she helped me, like I said, to see something, a strength of mine that I started nourishing. So after that, I got started getting interested in my own psychology and soon after that, self-improvement. And then soon after that, I had a what people refer to as a spiritual awakening, but it's how I spiritual awakening sounds kind of woo-woo sometimes. And what I have come to understand now is just a glimpse of the truth of reality, of who we are, what we are. But I didn't understand that at all. But it happened in the gym when I was 25 and a half or so. So this is 7.5 years ago or something. And it completely shifted my view of myself because I all of a sudden became aware of the voice inside my mind that I had been identified with up until that point, telling me that I'm lazy, telling me that I'm stupid, telling me that I'm whatever, I'm a quitter. Being a quitter for some reason was something that was ingrained in me. Never following through, always taking the easy way out, always wanting to have fun, etc. So this voice in the head that we think is our own voice, sounding like our own voice, talking to ourselves all the time, is not who we truly are. And I was able to separate myself from this voice in the gym completely. Like that was the craziest time of my like craziest moment of my life because I could all of a sudden it was almost like I could see myself from a deeper angle, let's say, a deeper dimension to life. And that changed my life. But it's obviously taken a long time for me to understand what that was because I had no idea what this was. I come from a atheist background. I was rejecting all this type of stuff for a very long time. So it actually took me about 2 years until I realized that that's the ego. That's not who I am.
Mm.
So that was like a little bit of an epiphany moment for me 2 years after having that realization in the gym. But that's when I started changing myself for real, and I started, um, a fitness journey, and still seeking something. I was still seeking something in the future. I was still looking for fulfillment elsewhere, which is common. It takes time, these things. But I had seen the truth that I could no longer deny, which put me on this path of wanting to help people do the same. So that's a long introduction, but that's a little bit of that.
There's so much to unpack there, man. But you know, we all start that journey somewhere, don't we? And yeah, just the spiritual. Oh, like for me too, I was the same. I was like, oh, it's just all bloody woo-woo shit. And then you sort of, it's like you're seeing yourself for who you truly are for the first time. I could really resonate with what you said when you had that epiphany. There was just something I was going to circle back on. You said it was deeply ingrained in you that you were a quitter. Like,
Mhm.
was that like a psychological program from your childhood home? Was it like something that was deeply ingrained? And also how did you change that story? Because that's a pretty deeply sounds like a deeply ingrained story that you had running for a fairly long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember where it's coming from. It's a good question because I actually haven't thought about where it comes from. Maybe I should sit with that. But
Interesting.
yeah. Um, but it's been coming from, like family members, like, oh, he's always quitting or something like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
that it comes from my family, but I can't just pinpoint where exactly or when. But this is a narrative that has been running in my subconscious for a long time. Like I'm a quitter. I always do things that I need things to be fun all the time, which I sort of also think is true now, but it also has to come to some degree of discipline. And I didn't have that at all. I had that when I was younger, but I sort of lost that when I was in my early 20s. And so how I broke free from that is that this voice that had been telling me that I'm lazy, that I'm quitter, for example, that I thought was myself speaking to myself in my mind, but now realizing when I had the awakening that, oh, I'm not the voice. I'm that which is aware of the voice. I'm that which is listening to the voice. I'm the silent backdrop that is aware to everything that is happening in my life all the time. And so I think how I broke free from that was I wanted to prove the voice wrong.
Mm.
So let's say that I remember an incident when I was driving home from work because I was working the night shift in a warehouse in Sweden, and I uh, I had I guess a bad habit of going past McDonald's and going the drive-through, and every time I approach McDonald's, I'm like, oh, go have a Big Mac, and I'm like, yes, let's have a Big Mac. But after awakening, I heard the voice saying, go in and have a Big Mac. And I'm like, fuck you. No, I won't have a Big Mac. Like, I don't need to listen to you. Like, I'm good without a Big Mac. So I wanted to prove the voice wrong. So every time the voice in my mind told me to do something like destructive, I did the opposite instead. So I used it as a positive trigger. So let's say that the voice told me to, go and play video games and jerk off or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna go to the gym and have a salad and do something productive instead. Because I wanted to. I was like, this is no longer. I'm not gonna be controlled by this voice telling me that I'm lazy. I'm not lazy. Like who are you? You know what I mean? So I did the opposite to what that sort of programming had told me to do or told me to act or told me to be my entire life. And yeah, that was the beginning of the new way of life. And it's been a transition period. Of course, these identities and thoughts can be so deeply ingrained in us that we think that it's us,
Mm.
but it's not. Nothing, and this is interesting because nothing that comes from the mind is actually in accordance to truth. And I can probably expand a little bit on that as well, but I'll start with that on your question.
Yeah. Well, obviously, the next question would be, did you want to? We might as well expand on it right now.
Okay.
Hmm.
We can just, I guess, edit this out, hopefully. But the truth is that the truth cannot be found in the world. And anything that we have been taught, anything that we have been conditioned to believe by parents, by upbringing, by society, by culture, by political climate of the world, whatever country we live in, everything that we have been told by other people are just thoughts, which reinforces this belief that we are the one talking to ourselves inside the mind, that we are this separate entity almost that is looking out at a big, scary world that we have to defend ourselves from. And this goes hand in hand with what I said before. We get exposed to pain when we are kids that we then make decisions or almost like a contract with ourselves saying that I will never allow myself to feel this way again. Starting with the word I will never allow this. I need this to happen. I don't want this. I dislike this. I agree with that all the time. These are thoughts that is starting with the word I that take us further away from what we truly are. And what we truly are is impossible to talk about because it's not a word. It's not a thought. And words are thoughts. So if I want to point closer towards that which is true, that which is undeniable for every human, that which we all have in common, is the knowing of our own existence. What does it feel like to exist? And who knows? And where does that knowing sit that we exist? Or we could say, what is it that is looking out from our eyes? What is it that is looking out here? What is that? What is that made out of? That which is aware, what is it made out of? Like it's not a thought, it's not an emotion, it's not the body, it's a presence that is here, that has always been here since I opened my eyes, since I took birth. But then I have started identifying myself with my name. I am Kimmen, I am a man, I am from Sweden. All of these things, starting with the word I. So what takes us further away from recognizing ourselves as the truth is the I thought, starting with the word I, like I said. I need this, I want that, I am this, I don't want that, I disagree with that. And when this happens, we live in a state of fight or flight. Again, we live in survival because we deem some things in reality, I don't want this. I need to get away from pain because I have pain on the inside, and I need to move to a more pleasurable future. And this also creates a sense of needing to defend ourselves when people disagree with us. Because if we are so identified with our political views or with our religion that we think that this is who I am, we might feel the need to defend ourselves against people that have opposing views and beliefs and opinions than we do. So we're all of us are identified with thoughts, opinions, beliefs, personality traits, everything, but it's not who we are. We are that which is looking out from our eyes, that which we were when we took birth, because we didn't have a political view when we were born. We didn't know that we even existed. We just was. We just be this presence here all the time. And so the truth is finding our way back to that, disidentifying from thought, not neglecting it or rejecting it, seeing the truth for what it is. We leave the dream. We wake up to who we truly are. We are that presence which is here, and we are all that. That is how I would expand on the truth.
Yeah, I love
I'm
that.
not sure if that's a little bit too much in depth, but
No, I
that's how I
love it.
see it.
A lot of my
Yeah.
listeners, yeah. Everyone's on different levels, so that will just sink in and that will hit people where it needs to be, right? And
Yeah.
it's just so true because we just take on all this stuff and we just forget to be. Simple as
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
From when
And
we
that
fly out of the
leaves us.
womb until then we go and we wake up. It's like we just
Yes.
forget to be, And when you
Yep.
were talking about in your YouTube videos today, which they'll be in the show notes down the bottom, and Kimmen will say where his YouTube channel is later in the show. That in a video today, you're saying the very, very much the exact same thing you just said there, and you were talking about how like it's all within us. There's no external anything. It's all here. And gee, when you were talking about attaching to that future outcome, like just expand on that because that hit me today. Because I always was chasing that future thing, and
Mhm.
as you said in the video, it was material when
Yes.
it exists here right now in this present moment. But I was so fixated on that's
Yes.
like yeah, far out. It just I'm still probably marinating on what you said today. It's still sinking in when I watch that video.
Okay. Well, let's try a little exercise.
Here we go.
Do you have anything in the future that you think that, okay, when I have that, then I will feel a little bit more fulfilled or a little bit more peaceful or a little bit more superior in one way or another?
I have three.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Go. Pick one of them or pick all of them. Let's go all of them.
all of
If you
them.
want to share, that's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
let's do
share.
that.
Look, everyone, my listeners and my viewers know most of my story now. So for me, man, it's like that woman family. That could be one or two
Mm,
things. You know what I mean?
mm,
And obviously my business being where I want it to be. So that's obviously wealth.
mm,
And then
mm,
well, that's probably two. That'd be two. Could be three because
mm,
family woman is then the family. So it's like the woman
mm,
first.
mm.
Yeah. So it's three. Yeah.
Okay.
Not in any order. Let's go
Okay.
with
Well,
those.
let's say that you get that right now. Boom, it's yours.
Okay.
Like all your visions, so everything that you have about that, whatever visions you have in your mind that you think will that you want, that is yours right now. Boom. What does that feel like for you?
I feel I feel very happy. Like not well,
Yep.
excited. I feel I feel love from another, like
Yes.
receiving.
A sense of expansion. Yeah,
Yeah.
receiving.
And I
Beautiful. Like a
feel
sense of
like
expansion in a sense, right?
yeah, and for me with the wealth and the business side of things, I feel like I have more freedom to do more things that I want to do. And I have
Okay.
more time to do those things. So I
Nice.
feel like I'm
So yeah,
free. from those
Yeah.
shackles finally.
Yeah.
Like I've done that
So
work on
yeah, so
myself to
what
be free from those shackles. So I feel like I'm like, fuck.
yeah, so okay, freedom, beautiful. I love freedom. So you talking about it, what does freedom feel like for you? You just said it. It feels like you just explained it, right? Like expansive. So can you feel it right now just talking about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I was feeling it when I could like, I was seeing it too. Like I've always been able to see it, but like
Yes.
asking me how it felt, like it was pretty cool.
Yes. So what you're seeking is not a family and a woman and wealth. What you're seeking is freedom, which is
Yeah.
an internal state, right? So
Yes.
you already have what you're seeking.
Yes.
Yes. Because the mind creates conditions that I will only be able to feel this way when I have achieved XYZ.
Yes.
It's an internal experience that we are seeking in anything that we want. It's not the goal, the pursuits, the women, the success, the objects. It's not that those things in themselves. It's what we think that those things will give us internally. So the
Yeah.
mind creates conditions that say that I will have to have that achieved before I can feel this way. Okay, but what if you achieve that right now? Boom, what would that feel like? And you said freedom. Great. That means that you already have what you're seeking.
Hmm.
And this takes away the sense that something is lacking from life. Because when we believe that we will get something like an outcome, in your case, a family, a woman, and more wealth, that I will be freer when we always live in a state of lack. We always live in a state of inferiority towards our ideal version. But when we realize that I'm seeking an experience, we realize that I already have truly what I'm seeking. And from this space, we enter life from a place of fulfillment rather than expecting fulfillment to come from future pursuits. So
Yeah.
we pursue things from a completely new way of life. We realize that I already have that which I'm seeking. I'm fulfilled already. And that's why I want to bring that to the world. So when we start to tackle quote unquote life from this perspective, our goals may change, but they will be more aligned and authentic to our true being, to ourselves, because we're no longer lacking anything. We're not expecting life to give us anything. So we start approaching life from a place of nothing to win, nothing to lose. Everything is already here. Everything is already mine. It's always been me that I have been seeking.
Yeah.
And when this happens, we shift our attention from a place of chasing the destination to realizing that I am the destination. I have always been the goal, and I don't need to chase something in the future to make myself feel more because I'm already that. I'm simply being pushed forward by everything I'm achieving instead of chasing achievement in the future from a place of lack. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Looking forward to
So
watching
that's
this
how I
back
would
again. So true.
so
It's
that's how
so
I
true.
would explain that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so true because like I know you were talking about it today. Like there was so much like for me it was so visual and so like crystal clear. Like I could see everything that I was doing whenever that was in the future. But it was that
Mm.
attachment to the feeling that I would only feel it, which is the condition to in
Yes.
the moment when you can actually feel it in the moment right now, not then.
Exactly.
Because that
And
was
if we
what
live like that,
mm,
sorry, if we live like that, we create a sense of separation from ourselves. And how can we not feel a sense of lack then? It's like
yeah.
freedom is out there somewhere. Like
But
no,
it's
it's not the thing creating freedom. It's your body creating the freedom that you're seeking. It comes from the inside. It doesn't come from the world. So again, the truth cannot be found in the world. The truth is found on the inside,
correct.
and this is a part of the truth.
Mm. How does one how does one start to actually detach from all of that and just be? How can one start to do this?
Good question.
Mm,
Um, well, because we are so outwardly, externally focused, we're living in the future. We're living in, again, tying this to back to what I said in the beginning. We come from a painful past that we don't want to be there, so we are looking for fulfillment in the future, in the world. living in time, in the mental dimension, we could say.
Yeah.
Um, the coming from the past, like the past is painful, and I need to move to a better future. Always creating a sense of dissatisfaction with the present moment. Like I am not enough as I am, but I need to look externally and seek something in the world to try and make myself feel good on the side. So how do we do that? We realize that we're not only living in the mental dimension. I mean, the mental dimension about rehearsing problems and I need to pay the bills and I want to have this amount of money and I want to have this amount of fame and I want planning for the future. I mean, that's good. But we forget that we also exist in the physical. Like we have a body, we are here, and which is if you think about it, the only thing that is actually true. Like the mental images and the voice in the head telling me that I need to become someone, it's not really true because it's not here. It's not real, right? It's just fantasy.
Yeah.
So we're dreaming. We're not awake. So we're also in the physical. We have a body, we have phones, we have, everything that is actually true, which is here. But we forget this. We're so occupied living in the mental that we forget that we also have a body, which is the other dimension to life that we completely neglect. So by simply learning to tap into the sense of touch again is super simple because all our senses are in direct experience with the physical all the time. All our senses are always in the physical. It's just our thoughts convincing us that we're somewhere else or that we need to go somewhere else, right? So if we tap into the sense of touch, like a super powerful thing that I use for my clients is just to learn to feel the feet or the hands, like whichever one. But for me, I tend to feel the feet is a little bit more effective. So if we put all our attention inside our feet and we're not thinking about our feet, we're not thinking about like an image of a foot or the word foot, we're simply being in the foot. And then it might take some time for people. Some people that are very identified with the mind may have a hard time doing this, and that's okay. It's a practice. But and then I ask, what does your foot feel like? What's the sensation in your feet? If I ask you that, what do you feel if you put your attention in your feet?
My feet on the carpet right now.
Hmm? What about inside them? Can you find, is there any movements happening inside the feet? Can you feel that there's a tiny,
Yeah, I can
almost
feel some,
shivers?
yeah,
Or,
shivers, tingling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, beautiful. See if you can spread that up your legs.
Oh,
And it's not a doing, right? We're not doing anything.
no, I'm just sitting here.
No, it's simply paying attention.
Ah,
Now, this is presence. This is where we start because this is always now.
yeah.
It's never in the past, never in the future. You won't be able to find this in the future. You won't be able to find this in the past. It's now, always. Now we start with that, and then we can learn to eventually find our entire body like that, like feeling the back of our face or feeling our hands as one piece. We're not like separating our hands from our arms or our leg or anything. It's just one body here now. And as we do this, there might be tension coming up, but this is because all of the pain from the past is coming up that we have been suppressing because we took refuge in the mind, saying that I need to be somewhere in the future to make myself not feel this pain. So when we learn to be present in the body again, all that pain that we have been suppressing may come up so that we will be able to feel that so that we can release that. And when we are done releasing all of the past pain that we have been suppressing, that is what we can call liberation or enlightenment, for lack of a better term, if people are interested in that.
But that presence is so transforming and powerful because as soon as I get back into the body and feel things, mate, like, yeah,
Yes.
I know what you're talking about because I've been there. And sometimes, yeah, it's funny how the mind works and how we work because we tend to go that way, but
Mm-hmm.
then we're always being forced to go within anyway. And for me, mate, I was always chasing that thing, as I said. But
Me
once
too.
I'm present, mate, like the floodgates will open. Like they've always opened when I've
Yes.
been present in the body. Like tears, bro. And I'm just sitting there
Yes.
holding a younger version of me, or I'm playing something back to feel what that felt like in that moment because I suppressed it in that moment. So I'm going back to feel it. And I've had so many, And a lot of people resonate. So many transformative feelings and emotions come through that in breath work or meditation or energy work or whatever it is, to just get that out of my body, right? To feel that and then let it go. Because
Yes.
we just carry around so much stuff deep within that if we just look in and focus on it and feel it, like, it's so powerful, bro.
Yeah. But the problem is that our society is built in the mental dimension.
Correct.
We're trying to build a better future at the cost of the present moment. So we're all ingrained in this. Our parents are ingrained in this. It's like I said, it's survival.
Yeah.
But we are shifting out of survival. This is shifting out of survival. And the problem is that the mind will be skeptical towards this way of life. That's why it's so difficult. Because the mind is scared of the unknown. This is the unknown approaching something that's outside of the mind. And the mind will build defense mechanisms around this. That's why we have so many stubborn people saying that I never surrender, and nothing wrong with that. I don't blame them because it's just their mind doing what it's conditioned to do, escape pain and chase pleasure in the future. But
But that pleasure,
once we wake up from that, that pleasure, you're probably going to say that pleasure never comes. It's just a
correct. That's
false,
what I was going to say.
yeah, yeah. I mean, pleasure, sure. Like, okay, I can jerk off, I can eat something, right? And I'll feel good for 5 minutes, or but if even that,
But it comes
and then
back.
I will feel, yes, it always comes back because we're conditioned to escape pain.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to escape this sort of massive dysfunctional way of life, we have to obviously address the root cause of it, which is the pain. And to tie that with what you said, the inner child, going back to that, allowing ourselves to feel absolutely worthless, allow ourselves to feel absolutely shameful. I had an incident in school when I was about 7, and I was a bit of a clown. I liked to have fun when I was a kid. And I said something, and my teacher like put me down like crazy, and I had never experienced that before. So I got exposed to shame, like deep shame for the first time because my entire class was laughing at me. They laughed at me. And so after that, I had a deep wound of deep, deep, deep worthlessness, that I hadn't felt in years. And so when I became aware of that, I was like, oh, interesting. I hold tension here. I can go into that. I can allow myself to be that little boy. Because all of us have little boys, and women have little girls living in our heart that is trying to protect ourselves from all this pain. Like I
Correct.
said, we made a contract with ourselves back then, saying that I will never allow myself to be this shameful ever again. I will never allow myself to feel this weak or worthless. So we take refuge in the mind. So if we want to address that, we go into that version of ourselves and allow ourselves to feel what that version of ourselves feel like, almost like becoming that boy again. And
Yeah.
then we can speak to that child, that boy, through time, in a sense. We can embody our present self, our more developed adult self, and we can speak to the child with love and compassion, saying that, bro, kid, boy, I got you.
Mm-hmm.
You're safe. You don't have to run anymore. You don't have to be scared of feeling this way anymore. It's safe to feel. I'm here with you. I will never leave you again. I'm sorry for leaving you for so long. I'm sorry for abandoning you. I've been abandoning you because that's what you have feared the most. It's like I have done to myself what I have feared the most in life, abandoned myself. But if I learn to be present with the boy and I be both the boy and my present self, and I speak to one another and I hug the boy and I let him know that he's good, I'll show him the ropes of life. He's fine. Fact is that he probably desperately wants a mentor, someone that he can look up to because he might feel lonely. Okay, great. We are the person in the universe that is best for that role because we know exactly what that boy needs and wants. So we are the only ones that can actually give that to him instead of expecting society or pleasure or validation or something that will be able to fill that or fix that. It's not going to work. Only
Mm-hmm.
our own love and attention and compassion is what is going to work. That which the boy wants in the first place. He wants compassion and understanding, and recognition and love. And so that's how we can start to break this habit of chasing pleasure, avoiding pain all the time, creating immense suffering for ourselves and other people around us. And this is how collectively we will shift out of survival. But like I said, we're so ingrained in this habit that it's going to probably take a little bit of time. But that's also one of the reasons I love what I do, because I help people with exactly this, to
Mm,
shift our state of awareness.
yeah. And I'll just circle back to something you said earlier too. And I've been guilty of this in my journey too, and it's something I'm still working through, you know. You feel like you've gone deep enough and you're like,
Mm,
cool, that's sweet.
yep, yep.
But the way this all works is I often get the slap in the face and it's like, no, no, no. There's another layer there, right? Like it's that ego again being like, yeah, you know what? That little boy got what he needed for that moment. But then in my life, something will
Yes.
happen, and I'm like, fuck, I thought I got rid of that, or I thought I'd let that go, whatever it is. And then it's like, I'm feeling that again. It's like, yeah, 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 you got to go a bit deeper, brother.
Hmm.
Because that's happened to me countless times. But it's like, I'll let that go. But the ego's like, I'll let that go. It's like, no, you haven't. You haven't gone deep enough. But because people find that they're like, yeah, 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 cleared it. But then it's like, no, no, no. And a lot of people are in that mindset too of, yeah, I've been there and done that. Like I've been there and cleared it. I don't think, for me, this is just my personal opinion, I don't think we ever fully clear that because there's always more layers to unpack, right? I
Hmm.
believe it's not never ending, but ever, it's like
Hmm.
forever thing, right? It's just something that we just keep
Hmm.
doing over time. That makes sense.
Hmm. Yes, it
Your
does
thoughts
make
on that?
sense. I do believe that, and I didn't used to believe this, but I do believe that there's a bottom to it.
Mm,
But even being identified or identifying ourselves there is it's not about that, because we will experience new pain and new things in life that we continuously have to learn to let go of and
correct.
not identify with. So I think that we can hit a bottom where we have sort of dealt with everything in our life, and this is obviously a will take time for people
Mm,
to do, to both become aware of this and to have the courage enough to actually deal with it. But I think, from speaking from my own experience, there is a bottom, but it's also important to not grasp after that. Because like I said,
yeah.
when we come to a place where I'm like, okay, now I got it, it becomes the known again.
Yep.
And if we want to live from a place of freedom and peace, there we'll have to learn to not grasp for anything that comes. So it's almost like putting ourselves in a constant free fall in life, and it might feel for the mind sort of disorienting, feeling like I'm not sure what's up or down anymore. But when we
Mm,
completely let go of our own self-image of ourselves, there will be a bottom in a sense, but it's a never it's also not a bottom at the same time. It's continuously
yep.
always expanding and opening, and we keep falling into that. Um, but like I said, there will always be challenges. Like we're never going to be able to arrive at a place where pain is non-existent, where suffering is non-existent. Of course, if I have to amputate my leg, of course I'm not going to be like, oh, it's all good. I don't have to identify with that. It's like, that's crazy, because we're human, right? It will be the most painful thing ever, and there will be a lot of suffering there. So it's not about becoming immune to anything. It's about learning to embrace life exactly as it is, to realize that we're human for a reason. We were born to face pain. Human life kind of sucks sometimes, but it's the embrace of all human emotions that make us feel free. Because we will arrive, let's say, arrive, quote unquote, at a place where we are not burdened by the fear of certain emotions, such as shame or neglect or rejection or abandonment or guilt or fear or anything like that. We embrace the full human experience exactly as it is, with pain and pleasure. So we're not clinging to anything or resisting anything or expecting ourselves to arrive at a certain point. We just allow ourselves to be exactly as we are in every moment, all the time.
Mm. Just letting that sink in. I had another question too, and it's an interesting topic. It's like an interesting topic, really. And I would love to your take on it. Is are we ever truly healed?
I think so.
Okay.
Mhm. Um,
In the
because if
human
there's a
body?
yes, I believe
Okay.
so. Because if there is a thought saying that I need to heal, I need to improve, I need to do something, it implies that we need to be somewhere else than here, that we are not enough as I am. So we're still coming from a place of lack if we think that I still have work to do. I still have work to do on myself. Now, there are different stages to this. If we are in complete victimization and severely overweight and whatever, just surrendering and learning to surrender, I mean, that's still gonna help, but we obviously want to take action and move out of that place as well, right?
Hmm.
So there are different stages in awareness. If we go from victimization to learning how to transform our lives, we have to be in a state of there's somewhere in the future I need to go because I'm better in the future. We have to have that belief. But once we have been in that state of awareness enough, it's like, when will my own fulfillment actually come? Okay, I got the abs, I got the car, I got the girl, but I still feel like something is missing on the inside. When will I actually feel like I am complete and healed as I am and perfect as I am? We have to give up the way of life that tells us that happiness is elsewhere, that I am not healed as I am. So, our true nature, our being, the truth that I've been talking about here, that might be kind of confusing for some people, but that's okay. You know, we're all on the journey at different stages. But when we get in touch with that which is always here, always now, that version of ourselves is always healed because there's nothing to heal anymore because we don't see pain or things happening in ourselves as something that we need to get rid of or address because it's just a part of the mental story that we have been identifying with since we were kids. So when we disidentify from that altogether, we realize that nothing was wrong in the first place. I was always
Yeah.
healed. I never needed to fix myself because I was always here. I was always whole.
Hmm. That's well said.
That's what I would say. And because I used to believe that I need to improve myself, I need to heal. And
Yeah.
yes, like I said, the journey has that sort of chapter, but eventually we will arrive where we have always been. And we realize I never left. There was never any journey. The past is just something in my mind. I was always now, always here, and that version of ourselves we can't hurt that because that is the same thing that opened our eyes when we took birth. Complete wholeness, complete awareness, complete here and nowness. There's no baby being born saying that I need to heal myself. No, it's
Yeah.
something that we get taught. We learn that throughout life. It's a programming. But it's also a great driving force for change. So it has its place. I'm not trying to reject that. But eventually, we will realize that, oh, I see now. I see the truth now. I've always been that which I've been looking for.
Which is acceptance. And do you believe
Yes.
in forgiveness?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. Acceptance, surrender, forgiveness,
Yeah. Surrender. Mm.
truth, trust, patience,
Yeah.
courage, resilience, consistency, discipline.
Yep.
Absolutely.
For you, with your journey and your coaching, what does forgiveness look like to you?
Oh, good question.
Mm.
I, like many others, come from a very broken home. I've never felt like I had a family in a sense because my parents split up when I was very young. And then I had my brother for a long time. We were sort of like doing our own thing because my mom she had a new kid with which is my half brother, which I live with now, by the way. So I'm not trying to. It's been exactly what I have needed to make myself what I am right now. But I had to forgive my parents for because I blamed them for a long, 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 long time for
Not
my
the only one.
shortcomings.
Not
And
the only one.
no, yeah, and my weaknesses and my traumas and everything,
Yep.
So forgiveness, I used to, because it's interesting with forgiveness, right? Because we believe that we're justified to hold on to these grudges with people, but we
Yes.
realize that, yeah, we feel like it's a weird sort of enjoyment in that, but it's just the ego, trying to, it's like I am right and you are wrong and you need to see it my way. Like, what does that even mean, right?
Mm.
So forgiveness does not mean that we forget what happened. It does not mean that we belittle what happened. It just means that we cut ourselves free from whatever happened. Because the other person is not even thinking about whatever happened. I mean, if it happened 20 years ago, like that person probably don't even remember what happened. But we carry deep traumas from it. So forgiveness means that I accept what happened. Doesn't mean I have to like it. I don't have to agree with it, but I accept it. And when I accept it, we approach life from a place of openness instead. So we leave, again, tying this back to survival, but we leave a state of that is more contracted, fear-based, blame-based, judgment-based, resistance-based. And when we learn to accept things and forgive, we enter a state of openness and we set ourselves free from whatever happened. Like I said, we don't have to like it, we don't have to agree with it, but we set ourselves free. And then we can live life from a more open, expansive, and graceful state of being, which, in my experience, is a billion times better than to live in a state of victimization.
Yeah.
Because in victimization, growth is impossible because we always blame something. We always feel like something is working against us in victimization. I'm the victim here, and something is working against me. But when we learn to accept life and see life for what it is, like I said, we approach life from openness. And that creates a sense of, I'm good. I've always been good. Um, but yes, I had to work with forgiveness a lot. But
Mhm.
it's one of the pillars in my coaching as well to learn to forgive. And it can be kind of difficult, but there are some things we can do to help that process.
Yeah, it's the same as mine too. And, for me, I had to go through that to be able to coach it because we just hold on to so much stuff. And, you know, the feeling of letting that stuff go and the acceptance is a very powerful feeling to accept whatever that was for what it was. And as you said, don't have to agree with it, don't have to like it, but to just accept that it happened, mate, that can propel you so far forward because it just
Yes.
takes off that. It's like the shoulders, you know what I mean? Like they're just. It's so I felt it up through here, and you're just like, oh,
Yes.
just
Yes.
like
Yes.
relax the shoulders now. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
100%. And I've had
Yeah.
tension in my head and in my jaw, like
Mm.
from things that has happened to me. And I've been carrying this for 20 years,
Yep.
believing that this is who I am because it's thoughts telling me that this happened to me and blah, 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 right? It's like, it's not, yes, it happened, but like, it's not here. It's not in the physical,
Yeah.
like I said before. So if we want to forgive, it's like, we don't even have to think, I need to forgive this because that's just another thought in the mental. All we have
Yeah.
to do is to learn what the emotion is. What happened to me? Okay, let's say that I feel shame. Okay, can I revisit the memory and simply look at it? I don't have to do anything with it. Can I simply sit in silence and look at the pain, look at the memory? And if I can do that, great. Then we can learn to work with how to feel it. It might create tension in the body, but that's okay. That tension is there because of that memory. So when we learn to fully sit and be present with that tension will leave. And left in that space where we have been sort of looking away from because we don't want to acknowledge that pain where that or that space where that pain is. When we learn to address that space and be present with that pain, that space will instead be filled with unconditional love. And that is a sense of coming home, a sense of, oh, I'm good as I am, because I don't longer have this pain on the inside that I need to forgive or that I need to suppress, because I'm good. It's like it's left me now. And unconditional love is taking place there instead, which is just a sense of being connected and being home
Mm.
within ourselves. And that is what we all seek in the world. We all seek a sense of I want to be okay as I am. That is what all humans want. But we're looking for that in the wrong places. And
100%.
that's the problem. Yeah.
Mm. If there's someone listening to this right now who's resonated so much with what you've said, and they're about to take one big giant step on their journey, whatever level they're on, what would be your advice to that person to take that step?
Don't let fear control your life.
Oh yeah.
And we need to challenge ourselves. Both external challenge is good, but also internal challenge. Like looking at that which is uncomfortable on the inside, or doing things that is going to be scary. Because it's, like I said, again, the mind can only know what it knows. So if we want to grow, if we want to build our dream business or approach that girl on the street, what do we need to do? We need to challenge ourselves. And what emotional frequency do we have to tap into then? We have to tap into courage. And courage is the emotion, is the first emotion on the human spectrum that is outside of survival. It makes us leave survival because we go against that which is uncomfortable. We start approaching the unknown with courage. And in the unknown is where we will find everything we are looking for. Like if you know, when you started your business, you had to do something that you hadn't been familiar to before. You had to challenge yourself. You had to do things that made you feel uncomfortable. But that proves to the mind that, oh, the mind is not the runner of the show. I don't have to trust what they says all the time. I mean, he can have a job. He's a good little servant, but I'm not going to allow myself to be the slave anymore. I'm going to be in control. And to be able to do that, we have to go against that which is uncomfortable, which requires courage, which will make us grow, which will take us out of suffering and out of victimization, out of survival, where change is possible. So that's what I would say. Approach life from a place of courage instead of from a place of fear.
Yeah, it's a powerful message. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap things up, Kim? And this has been a really awesome chat, and I can see us doing another one very soon.
100%, I'd be keen. But if there is one goal, that is that the goal is to feel as much love as possible on the way to the goal.
Yeah,
So that's a
that
paradox for you, but that is how I tend to live life now.
feel as much love as possible on the way to the goal. That could almost just be the podcast title.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
The goal is to feel as much love as possible on the way to the goal.
I love that. That's a really. Where can people find you, bro?
On Instagram, it's Kimmen. So it's Kimmen. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
On YouTube, it's just Kimmen, Kimmen, and I post at least once a week, but there will be more things coming on YouTube. I love doing like longer format content. So if this has been resonating with you, and if you want to learn more about what I do, then go into my YouTube and Instagram or check out my website, which is itskimmen.com.
Perfect,
So
man.
I'll leave you with that.
Yeah, all those links will be in the show notes in the bottom for people to go and just soak in Kimmen. It's very grateful that I met Alfie. I'll give him a shout out. He'll love that I've shouted him out now. Very grateful I met Alfie that put me in touch with you, mate. That chat I knew was going to be good and it delivered. Kimmen, thank you for your time today, mate. I really appreciate all that you've said, all that you've shared on my platform today, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. Very grateful to be on here. I think we'll definitely do another one. I'd be
Yeah.
keen. It's
Yeah.
good to connect with you as well. So thank you.
You too, man. Thank you so much. I'm back. The Breaking Free podcast is back. I will talk to everyone again soon. There are some awesome episodes coming, let me assure you, everyone. Feel as much love as possible on the way to the goal. That's a good way to leave it. Thanks, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.